What's going on, everybody, and welcome to round 3 of our March Madness Bourbon Bracket Single Barrel Edition. Today we have Nashtucky, brought to you by Josh and Aaron over at Stuff and Whiskey, versus Blanton's Gold, obviously coming out of Buffalo Trace. We're going to pour these up, we're going to drink them blind, and we're going to see who's moving on to the semifinal rounds. Let's get it. So far in this bracket, we have CMB with the upset over CNA in the Russell's Reserve. Then we still have the Fiddler pick, my pick, versus what's that going up against? The Mictors, and of course, we had Stag beating Old Forester in the second round. So let's pour these up and see what we're going to do. I ran out of A glasses, so we have B over here in glass B, and we have C over here in glass C. Of course, before we talk about these, we've got to mix these up, so we don't know which one's which, although I think, again, we're going to be able to tell with this one. Our Whiskey Wisdom spinner here, let's spin these up. Seems good enough to me. So listen, we're going to talk a little bit about these bottles. We're going to drink these. We're going to figure out which one we like best on taste and see who's going to move on. Time for the traditional sip. Cheers, y'all. That's the Nashtucky. I mean, it's no real big secret here, right, guys? 126.34 proof, 103 proof. If I can't tell the difference between these two, you shouldn't be watching me on YouTube. I will tell you this. This right here is delicious. We're going to get into the tasting notes, but let's get into this one over here, which I'm assuming is the Blanton's Gold. Cheers, y'all. I've only had a little bit of this, and this is really freaking good. It's better than any regular Blanton's that I've ever had. I'm always honest with you guys, and I'm going to be honest with you again right now. This Nashtucky I had winning this thing before I even poured these up. I said Blanton's Gold at that proof compared to this proof is just not going to be able to hold up. But this right here is going to be a lot closer than I thought. Blanton's might pull this one out. This is a really good glass of whiskey. I did not expect it to be this good next to this one. This one is also a great glass of whiskey, but I did not expect it to be this close at all. Taste-wise, these are both phenomenal. This Nashtucky over here, obviously distilled in Kentucky. I don't know where it's distilled from. The 1500 series is highly sought after. So the fact that Stuff and Whiskey got their hands on a pick out of the 1500 series is absolutely phenomenal. I love everything that Josh and Aaron do. I love this pick right here, but it sips hot for me. Even at 126 proof, it sips hot. I will say that right off the rip. Obviously at least 5 years old, but this Blanton's Gold over here, this is coming in at mash bill number 2, which I think, personally, I think mash bill number 2 is my favorite of the mash bills. I love that higher rye content. It's supposed to be more than 15, I suppose. The lower rye, the mash bill number 1 is less than 10%. Who knows? But this right here, this is really freaking good. I feel like the proof here at 103 proof is everything that I'm looking for. So Blanton's gets knocked on so much because of the proof. If a Blanton's was a higher proof, it would be better. And I feel like that's what we're getting right here. You get the vanillas, you get the caramels, you get the oaks. That's obvious. But the thing that I get on this that I truly love is there's like a honey presence on this. It makes the mouth feel perfect. It gives you that rye spice right there in the middle. So you start off on that roller coaster ride with a little bit of sweetness. You get a little bit of spice on the middle and then just enough oak on the end to really pull this glass together. I love this glass right here. That being said, there is nothing that I can find in this glass over here that is bad. This glass over here, just as good. I feel like I get a lot of sweetness on this, like a confection sugar, like a sugary sweetness on this. A lot of dark fruit notes, but also a lot of bright fruit notes as well. It's very complex when it comes to this particular glass over here. Then on the end, you get a lot more oak than I was ever expecting for a 5-year. This right here is another phenomenal pour. The only thing that I'm coming back to on this particular glass over here is the heat. 126 is nothing to sneeze at, but at the end of the day, I've been drinking a lot of high proof stuff. We have a lot of high proof stuff in this particular bracket, and I will say that some of those higher proof whiskeys still sip easier than this. Now, this is the second highest proof behind the Stag, but we just did the Stag, and the Stag drank very easy. This right here, just a little bit hot. Nothing to do with the taste, but at the end of the day, the overall experience, it does drink hot for me. Now, the thing about this particular bottle over here is this is distilled in Kentucky, but it's aged in Kentucky and Tennessee. Obviously, Nashville, Tennessee, Nashtucky, you understand now. But I don't know how long it's aged in Kentucky versus how long it's aged in Tennessee. Is it 4 years in Kentucky, a year in Tennessee? Is it 1 year in Kentucky and 4 years in Tennessee? Obviously, there's some older whiskey than 5 years in this because 5 years is the youngest whiskey in this, but I thought that was an interesting thing as well. That sugary note, you know I love a sweet whiskey, and this is definitely a sweet whiskey. The sugary note, the fruit note on this, whether it's dark or light fruits, they're both there. I get that. It's complex. It's dense. You get that oak on the end that I wasn't expecting. This is a very good glass of whiskey. I don't want to let this cloud my judgment, but I will say I was expecting this to be a fantastic glass of whiskey, and that's exactly what it is. It is a very good glass of whiskey. I wasn't expecting this glass to hold up to this glass, and yet it is, and I don't know if that's messing with me. Like, is this supposed to be this good, especially next to something that I know is this good? I think that's where I'm at right now. I feel like the longer I sit with this glass, the more notes I'm beginning to pull out of it as well. I get like an orange note, which I absolutely love. There's almost like a very faint chocolate or like some kind of dark note behind this as well, which I really think brings this glass together well. It's all over the spectrum, but yet so well done. And it's a single barrel, so I can't even say it's the blending process. This is not going to be an easy call. I feel like I'm also sitting with the idea in the back of my mind, of course, of this is what? Tater juice, right? You're not supposed to like Blanton's. Don't pay more than $40 for it. This isn't just Blanton's, though. This is Blanton's Gold, and it's my first experience with it. Well, second, I've obviously had it before, but it's so good. I was not expecting this, and I don't know if I want Blanton's to win for the simple fact that it's Blanton's. I can't hype this up already more than it is. Already more than it is. More than it already is. I've been drinking. Cheers, y'all. I mean, I'm over here trying to find something in this glass that I really don't like. This is just like a quintessential bourbon. This is what I believe bourbon is supposed to taste like. Now, take the hype, take the name, take everything else out of it. This is what I think bourbon should taste like. This is what I fell in love with when I started drinking bourbon. That being said, that was when I started drinking bourbon. Now that I've been drinking bourbon, I kind of love this one too. I mean, this glass over here, it's simple, it's elegant, it's pristine. This glass over here, it's dense, it's heavy, it's complex. Two very different stories, two very good stories, but very different nonetheless. I'm going to take my last sip of each of these, and then we got to call it, and I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. That little tingle on the tongue when it comes to the spice, the fruity notes, the sugar on this, everything about this glass is what I love about whiskey, but this glass right over here, one last sip, everybody knows the rules. I allowed myself to sit with both of these glasses for a little bit before I went back and forth on them. The finish is so long. Everything about both of these glasses is almost perfect when it comes to a glass of whiskey, and that's the toughest part about having to pick a winner here. I don't know which one I'm going to pick, and I got to think about it for just 1 second. I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to go off the books. I'm going to go off the rails. I'm assuming this is the Nashtucky, okay? I'm just going to say that. We haven't looked yet, but I'm just going to assume that this is the Nashtucky. At 126.34 proof, it's still sipped hot for me. This glass over here, I really can't find anything in this glass that I did not enjoy about it. I think it's very good when it comes to a glass of whiskey. It's quintessential bourbon when you're drinking it. There's nothing about this glass. I think it's the perfect proof. I think it's the perfect little roller coaster ride that I always talk about. That being said, if I can knock one of these glasses, it's going to be this one on proof. Again, assuming this is the Nashtucky. So if we flip this over and it's the Nashtucky, that means this lost because it lost on proof. That being said, if for some reason these are switched, then I'm going to change my call. I'm making that. I make the rules. That's how we're going to do it. So this right now is our loser, which means this is our winner, all depending on if this is gold or if this is Nashtucky. And again, I don't think I'm that bad. I don't think that I can assume something is 103 proof when it's 126 proof. So let's finish this up. One last little tiny sip in here and we'll flip it over. And it is C, guys. The Blanton's Gold, I mean, Josh and Aaron, you have a banger of a pick here. This Blanton's Gold here is just something special. It is going to take on Stag next, and then we have CMB taking on either My Fiddler or the Mictors. Make sure you tune into that video next. We're going to be here for the rest of March, figuring out who is our March Madness Bourbon Bracket Single Barrel Edition champion. But that's where we're going to leave you for today. Make sure you check me out on Instagram at Bourbon of the Week. Click that like and subscribe button if you enjoy this content. Make sure you check out our Patreon page and our Discord. Both those links in the description below. Please don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly. Stay healthy. Stay happy. Stay finding out the little things in bourbon. Cheers, y'all.